What's up, guys? So as you saw from those clips, I got a new mod for the Genesis Coupe, and honestly I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Y'all heard the pops on that silver Genesis 2.0. They were so insane. Like, the video doesn't do it justice with how ear-piercingly loud that car is, and I needed that in my life. So I picked up a two-step box, and most of y'all probably heard a Genesis Coupe 3.8 was like a watt box, which is the most common two-step box for our cars. But I actually picked up an AlphaX two-step box, which is pretty new. Most people haven't heard of it. I was looking on YouTube and there wasn't really any videos for how to install this on the BK1 NPI or really any Genesis Coupe. Just figured today we're going to do a video tutorial and show all y'all how to install the AlphaX two-step box on a BK1 NPI or multi-port injection Genesis Coupe. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this install. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and flash up a picture of the wiring diagram for the NPI install. Alright, so now after you got that for reference, let's go ahead and get right into this. Alright guys, so as you saw from that wiring diagram, it's only 5 wires that you're going to be using to install this whole kit. And that's the gray, blue, yellow, orange, and wires. And 2 of those are going to be inside of the cabin, 3 are going to be up in the engine bay. You can choose to have the ground up in the engine bay as well, but I grounded mine inside of the cabin. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into what we're doing inside of the cabin first, since that's what I think is the easiest. So as you can see right here, I've got my switch mounted up, and mine's just an on-off switch. You can do one of these kind of switches, or you can have a momentary switch where it's just a button. Behind the switch, there's going to be a positive and a negative lead off the switch. There's a bolt underneath your cup holder inside of the center dash area that is a ground bolt, and I just put the ground wire from the switch right onto that bolt, and then the ground wire for the harness as well onto that bolt. So then the second wire inside is the switch wire, and that wire goes to the positive lead on the switch, which is pretty easy. I happen to mount my box in here, so I've got the extra wires I'm not using right here, and then I took out the little iPod thing that's useless, and I used that to feed the wires all in and hidden through here. As I said, you've got brown, orange, blue, gray, and yellow. So that wire for the signal wire to the switch goes straight to the positive lead for the switch right there. So those connect. Ground goes to the bolt, ground goes to the bolt. Now you've got 3 wires left, 3 wires going into the engine bay. These wires are pretty easy to do. Ground makes sense, and the switch goes to the switch. And you can choose to mount the switch there. You can mount the switch by the traction control. You might switch really wherever you want, put the box wherever you want. I just chose to put mine there because I felt that that was the most convenient for my situation. But now that we're done with what we're doing inside of here, let's go ahead and jump into the engine bay and show you what I did in there. What you want to do before you start any of this is disconnect the negative side of your battery, because you don't want any chances of anything catching on fire or electrocuting you. So make sure before you start any of this wiring, you disconnect the negative side of your battery. So to get the wires from inside of the cabin and the harness into the engine bay, you've got to find some way to get through this barrier, obviously. And I've chose to go through the firewall located right here beside the battery. And it's just 2 10mm bolts that come off, and that slides right off, and you can put your wires through, and it goes right underneath the passenger seat, which is gonna be hard for me to show you, but you can maybe see them right there coming through. So wires coming through there. I use speaker wire to have 2 wires for the coil wires, and then just another wire for the RPM signal wire. RPM signal wire is going to come off of one of your injectors. Doesn't matter which injector you choose, it just matters which wire off the injector. So I chose this last injector right here since it was closest to the firewall and not underneath the massive everything. You flip that tab up just like that, just flipped up, and then you push it down and the tab pulls off. So this piece right here is going to be down. You're going to have to pull that up and then push this tab and pull it out. Then you can choose to cut the wires up above here. What I did was I popped this harness off, so there's a little clip right there as you see, and a clip right there. Those pop off. This whole center piece right here comes off, and you can pull the wires all the way up to where they meet down here. You're going to cut the gray wire, which is the negative lead. You don't want to cut the positive. So I spliced that wire into there. I didn't actually cut it in half. I just took a piece of the insulator off and spliced the wire around it and wrapped it up. And I connected everything back, and that's all hidden back there. And then for the coils, this is the only thing that was really kind of difficult for me to figure out at first, but I'm going to go ahead and hop right in and show y'all what to do. So when you get to the coil wires, there's this fuse box right here on the passenger side of the car. If you pop this fuse box open, it's going to have all the information for the fuses on the top of the fuse box. Now you see there's an ignition coil fuse. It's a 20 amp fuse. You're going to find that fuse, which is this green 20 amp fuse right here. And that's where you're going to look for the wires when you get into this box. Next, what you're going to have to do is you actually have to take this box out and open it up. So in order to do that, there's this harness right here, which you just push this tab down, that black tab, and then push the white tab and pull. To get this box off, there's a 10mm bolt right here, and then there's another one right there. So you're just going to take these off. And then all you got to do is lift up the box and push this tab right here out on the side, and it comes right off. So now we're gonna get this harness off. You might be able to just push it down and pull it out. Yep, I got it off. So now there's these tabs located all around this box, and you're just gonna basically pull those tabs up and pop them off, and this whole bottom part of the box will come off. All right, once you get the bottom of that box off, you're gonna remember the ignition coil fuse that I told you to remember, and you're gonna look for it. So there's the 20 amp fuse right there on the side. And when you find it in here, there's 2 wires, thick wires coming off from them. Right here, there's a green wire and there's a red wire on the 3.8. And if you look, the green wire comes over and would loop over and connect right here. There's another thick green wire right here that loops in, but it only stays on one side. This is not the one you need to cut. The one you need to cut is the one that loops all the way over to the ignition coil, from the ignition coil fuse to this junction box right here. Then you're gonna cut that wire in half, and you're gonna feed the wire that you took from here right in. The hot wire goes on the fuse side, and the coil side, that's not the hot wire, so not the orange wire, the blue wire goes to the junction box side. So blue to junction, orange on the fuse side. And you're just gonna cut those in half, splice those wires in, and run it all down. Once you get those 2 wires ran outside this fuse box, you can go ahead and put the bottom back onto it, sit it back in here, go ahead and tighten down these 2 bolts, well, this nut and this bolt. Put the harness back in and pull this tab up to make sure that it's secure. And then just replace the top of the fuse box right back on there. And that's basically it for inside of the engine bay. So you have those 2 wires coming right off. You have the orange one going to the fuse side inside of there, the blue one going to the junction box side. Then you have the other wire for the RPM signal going to the negative gray wire of the any ejector for the 3.8. I'm not sure if the color is the exact same for 2.0. It might be an orange wire on the 2.0, but just make sure that you go check and get the negative side of the injector wire. And then that's it for inside the engine bay. Believe it or not, guys, that's basically it for the install. It's actually super easy once you know what you're doing. The hardest part's really just trying to make sure all the wires are run and whatnot. So getting those wires through the firewall, up underneath the center console, or this console over here. And I basically took this whole dash part right out in order to get more room to work in here. Just getting the wires ran and everything was the most difficult part. So like I said, I have all the wires run coming through this hole right here and into this cardboard duct tape box that I made for the motherboard, which is what came with my kit when I bought it. And once you get all that done and you plug the harness in and you start the car, the box should light up, and that'll let you know that you did everything right and you wired it up right. It'll light up, and also it'll kind of hesitate to start for a second. So watch. Box is lit up. And after that, guys, there's not much left to do besides get on the road and see how it sounds. Now, I've learned a couple tricks so far, and I'm gonna have another video in the future on how to wire it, what's the best settings to get for the 2.0 turbo versus 3.8 to sound the best for the 2-step, to have the loudest pops, everything like that, different stuff you can do while you're driving. So expect that video coming once I figure out all the ins and outs of it more. But basically, all you gotta do to initiate it is turn the switch up or push the button if you have a momentary button, and then just rev the car or floor the car. If you floor it or hold the revs down, it'll initiate 2-step. You can rev it, and when you let off, it'll give you those huge loud pops that you heard. And I'll have some more videos to show you what it sounds like. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any more questions on the install, you can always message me on my Instagram, thatyellow3.8, and I am willing to help.